Josh, welcome back to This Is Horror Podcast.
Hello, you two.
It has been about 3 years because the last time you were on the podcast was actually for the release of Their Watching. So we did, the live podcast with you and Laurel Hightower.
Oh,
But
yeah.
then, in terms of talking about your own work, it was, well, in fact, looking, that was about 3 years too. So they're both 3 years. There we go.
Did we talk about inspection? Is that what we talked about last? Inspection?
Well, last
'Cause
last time, I mean, we
rate.
actually spoke quite a lot about, Spinner Black Yarn, as in, the production company, and then
Mhm.
we spent some time talking about Carpenter's Farm.
Okay, so since then, I'm looking at my bookshelf. Since then, Mallory has come out. The wide release of Goblin, the wide release of Pearl, which I should never have changed that title. That's on me. Whatever. We can talk about that later. Ghoul in the Cape, Daphne, and now Spin a Black Yarn. Wow, that's a lot. A lot has happened since then.
Yeah, yeah. Which, I mean, I think is testament to you being so prolific, or at least having the reputation of being prolific. Because we know that, like, sometimes the release of stories and the order in which they were written doesn't necessarily kind of follow. But I mean, it leads into, we've got this question from Alan Baxter. So yeah, we're just gonna break format and have a Patreon question at the start.
Okay.
That's
I
how
love
we're
that.
doing
I
it.
love that guy, by the way. So this is great. Okay.
Yeah. So he says Josh is such a good writer, but also a prolific writer. So I'm wondering, how long does a first draft tend to take, and how many drafts usually go into a book? I know from my own writing that it can vary a lot, but is there an average for you?
Um, yes, I would say that mostly the books take like 4 to 6 weeks, something like that for the rough draft. But then, yeah, I mean, oh man, I'm looking at them all right now. I mean, the rewrites are crazy extensive. Gosh, some of them 6, 7, 8 times. Bird Box was 11 times, and we're talking like, you know, rewriting, not just
Mm.
like spell checking. Um, Daphne, not as much. Um, But yeah, Daphne was. I even have the editorial response to Daphne on my office wall because
Mm.
it's sort of like the dream scenario. Every time a writer sends their rough draft or their first draft to their editor, they have this fantasy of like, this is the one where they're going to write back saying it's perfect, you know? So, like, everyone, like, you're totally. It never happens. The people write back, well, this is good, but it needs a lot of work still, And the response to Daphne was like, "Yeah, this is almost done." I was like, "Oh!" I like printed it up. It's like on the wall,
Yeah.
you know. And so Daphne, not as much, but the rest, yeah, about that. But then, just to get a little deeper, Ghoul in the Cape, because I knew it was gonna be a beast of a book. It's 300,000 words, um, because I knew that I did less per day. That sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out. I did less per day because I realized I would have to be writing 4 times the amount of like Bird Box.
Mm.
And if I were to write the regular pace or whatever, I'd probably be burnt out after like, halfway through that thing or something. So I intentionally like scaled back on the daily writing for Ghoul in the Cape, and it took about a year to do it. And then
Yeah.
it took like a couple months.
Yeah, I wonder what that was like psychologically for you, as somebody who wants to be writing more and to actually rein yourself in.
Uh, I didn't love it, and I tried another book where I only wrote 500 a day, just
Mm.
to see what that was like. And it was like maddening. I would be like, the writing session would end really fast. I'm like, oh no, what am I doing now? But then there's a million other things to do, like short stories, rewrites,
Mm.
the band, whatever it is. So lined it up with other stuff, but at the same time, I'm very used to once I start, like 6 weeks later, having like a rough draft. And there
Mm,
is, you can get kind of greedy for that. You know what I mean? Almost like, I mean, I guess that's a good thing to be greedy for, though, as a rough draft of a novel.
right, right.
But you can get kind of greedy for it. You're like, whenever I start a book, you're almost impatient. Like I'm an impatient artist, but I have to be patient during the rewrites, as you both know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where it becomes great or not. So, but thank you for those kind words, Alan.
Yeah, and in terms of, each day in those 4 to 6 weeks, I mean, how long are you typically writing? When is the writing routine? And I know that probably about, 7 years ago when we first spoke, we talked a little about writing routine, but I'm going to go out on a limb and, it might have changed in that time.
No, gosh, that's one of the weirdest things is that recently and I don't really normally post about this kind of thing or talk about this kind of thing because it's not my focus where my head's at. But recently, my agent told me that Bird Box has sold over 1 million copies worldwide. Okay, this was, I didn't even understand what she was writing me. I had to respond like, wait, hold on, what are we talking about? And she's like, no, this is what happened, you know. And the one of the first things that struck me, aside from like that's insane, was that my routine has not changed at all in the. Let me just do this real fast. Like 6, 7 years leading up to getting a book published, and the now 8 years or so since having a book published, it's been exactly the same, which is about an average of like just over 2 novels a year. So by the time Bird Box came out, I had like 14 written or something, and it's been exactly the same since. Haven't it's not like, oh, Bird Box came out, now let's start thinking strategically. Now
Mm,
let's start thinking, trends. Now let's start thinking bestseller list. It's exactly the same. I just made a documentary on the writing of a novel. I just filmed it, like filmed from scratch. I cannot wait for you to see this. Okay, this is wild. This is like a man losing his mind in his office. But it struck me while making this documentary that I have no idea, like, if this is ever coming out. Is this going into the pile of 25? I don't know what's going to happen to them. Is this going to be a book in a year? I have no idea. So when I got that note from Kristen, I guess I'm going to say there was kind of a moment of like pride that I haven't that hasn't changed at all. Now, in and of him, each book has its own routine. Like Ghoul in the Cave, I said, was different than most. Bird Box, for whatever reason, was written between like 8 a.m. and like noon every day. Incidents Around the House was like 8 at night to midnight. And it seems to be that once a book starts, like it's the same every day till it's done. And I'll bet you guys are similar, and anyone listening, where the average writing session is like 3, 4 hours of actually sitting there writing. It doesn't seem like anyone does much. You might have a marathon day or a shorter day, but it seems like the average for every writer I've ever talked to is about 3 or 4 hours a day. Is that the same for you guys?
yeah, I mean, I've tried to do more, and when I was writing full time, I was really trying to make it a 9 to 5, but I just noticed very quickly there are diminishing returns.
Yeah.
So rather than fighting, rather than making the last 4 hours hellish, why not say, you've got 3 or 4 hours. Once it's done, you're free to do other things. You can do other work, or you can, occasionally, why don't you just unwind? Why don't you do something not related to the work? Because I mean, it can become an obsession, particularly when you have time to fill. You can almost feel guilty if you're not. But I feel it's kind of like, if you go to the gym, if you're working out, if you're looking to build muscle, you're not like, no, I must do this all day. You're going to injure yourself. And I wonder if there's something kind of similar creatively. I do feel that we only have so much in the tank every day.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Occasionally, I get like a staycation, and I'll play. Hey, let's see if Bob can be a full time writer and do it 9 to 5. So and I'll have my little schedule, and I might get maybe like a day of 9 to 5, but after that, it's like, there's so many distractions that you can pass off as writing. I'm going to watch a movie. That's still writing. I'm going to read this book. That's still writing, because you're getting inspired and things like that. And then you find that you get off, in the fuck off zone. Uh, and then, your actual writing, like what you're talking about, Josh, is like maybe you might actually be able to do 3 or 4 hours in a stretch. Uh, so that seems like that's like a sweet spot.
Yeah.
I try to get through like a scene. That's my main goal, and start the next scene. If it takes me 30 minutes if I get in that zen where I'm just cruising, and it takes me 30 minutes to write a scene, and I'm happy with it and I can start the next scene, I'm like, hey, I'm done. I'm done. There's still a little gas in the tank, but I'm not going to push it, because that's when the writing starts getting really shitty. And, we give ourselves permission to write shitty, but you don't want to deliberately write shitty, So, I mean, I don't like the idea of pushing it to the limit.
That's
Um,
interesting what you just said about writing a scene, because I know exactly what you mean. I have more, for me, it's more like if I'm near enough to the end of the scene, like it feels really wrong to step away, because you're like, oh, no, I did my allotted time today. No, 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 get over here, buddy. You have to finish this moment, because you don't want to leave like the moment, but it still seems like, I think I've even read like famous authors, it's like 3-4 hours. I don't know what it is. It's like some creative cycle or something. You kind of run out of gas. And then, like you were saying, like the idea of like there are other things to do. You could do interviews. You can do work on that documentary that I was talking about. Like whatever it is, there are a million other things you can do, and you are still doing something for your writing. And I'm becoming less and less enchanted with social media, like less and less by the day. Man, I don't know about you too, but it's just becoming. And this was the reason for making the documentary, is that I just do not speak Twitter. I don't speak that language. It, to me, like a thought that crosses my mind often when I'm online is like, just because you don't air grievances doesn't mean you don't have any.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that like everyone feels like they must. It's to me, it's a very negative place. Twitter is, and maybe I'm like sensitive in that way. Fine, who cares? Whatever. But I don't speak in permanent opinions, or permanent declarations. If a scenario arises that morning, I probably need more than an hour or 5 minutes to know which side of this I'm on, or whatever the hell that. So I started I would find myself posting a bit about writing, like, oh, today's writing session was this or that. And even that felt like just like I was speaking a different language. That's when I started thinking, how can I express how I feel about writing a novel without doing it online, and without it being a social media thing? Because none of those formats, they all feel, I don't know, it's just like insincere to me or something. Like they all feel like strategy to me. Even though like sort of the kindest, or like the people that are maybe best at it and warmest, it still feels like strategy. And so I was like, okay, you need a bigger canvas. You need to film the process of writing a novel, so that you can literally on the spot discuss these things, and the camera can see the look in your eye, how you really feel, the tone of your voice, so it's not some misinterpreted tweet or something. And that's when I started thinking, okay, you need to make a movie of this. So about 3 books ago, I sat down to do it, and then I was like, no, no fucking way, dude. No, I'm like, writing a book is enough. I'm not filming this. No way. And so forget it. I just wrote the book. 2 books ago, I was like, dude, you should do it now, man. You should do it. And I was like, no, I know that is so much work. And then this time around, I just freaking did it. I was just like, no, look, if you don't do it now, you're never going to do this. And it was a little freaky at first. The very first day of it, I didn't know exactly like what the hell I was doing. And I went and told Allison, I was like, because I'd been talking about it for like a year or 2 years now or something. And I said to Allison, like, I don't know what to say, like, to the camera. And she was like, just be yourself. And I was like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
But it got easier. It got like looser, and then it got more than easy. It became exactly what I was hoping it would be, which is like, yeah, this looser, nuanced, I hope joyful, passionate, but also troubled and not self-doubting, but like, writing a novel is intense, as we all know. And that's all on tape. And so I feel like, I feel really good about it. I can't wait for you to see this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we may return to the social media comments because there's so much to say about that, you know, much of which I am in complete agreement with you on. But I want to talk more about the logistics of filming this documentary. I mean, who was involved with the filming? Was this like purely you setting up the cameras, or like is Allison involved? Is there a crew involved? If there is, I mean, and you're writing a novel, there's this guy over there. Isn't that a little bit distracting? Did you like then have kind of segments like in every American TV show where you're like, so when I was writing this scene, this is what was going through my mind? I want to know as much as you're prepared to talk about. Do you have scenes outside of the house as well?
No,
Like you're
not
walking
really.
around?
This
No.
is like a man in his office losing
Yeah.
his mind.
Yeah.
So we have been working with producers called Beck Woods. They did A Quiet Place. They did Haunt. They did this new movie 65. They did The Boogeyman. They wrote The Boogeyman. And we've been shopping with them Carpenter's Farm to TV.
Mm.
Them as producers, Spin a Black Yarn as producers, another fella, Andy, writing it and so forth. Like this, he would be writing those scripts, screenplays, whatever. And in the course of working with them, this came up. The idea that I was going to do this documentary. And they were like, hey, we've never seen that before. We've never seen like a documentary on a guy writing a novel. Can we produce this for you? And I was like, what? My plan was film it on this thing, the computer, and edit it with iMovies and put it on YouTube. Done. Like I figured if we had a video of Stephen King having done that with Cujo, we'd all have watched it 5 times. It might not be a great movie, but we'd all love to see it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so that was like the thinking. But they were like, no, we can set you up with better audio gear. And they did. I have it right here. These awesome like Rode microphones here. Look at these.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How about these things?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
and then hooked me up with like a better camera. And now this is the most amazing part. So it was a camera phone, and not what's the right phrase here? There's no like actual. It doesn't work as a phone, but it still does connect to like the iCloud or whatever. So I would film that day, and they could literally when I hit stop, it goes to the iCloud, and they could view it. So they were literally able to watch the dailies, quote unquote, the dailies. And they were able to say, like, to weigh in on like what was happening and what I was doing and stuff like that. But it was essentially just, it kept getting crazier and crazier in here. But having them weighing in or just even responding at all, or just knowing that they were like, it wasn't just me, that like helped propel it along. You know what I mean? I feel like if I was just doing it myself after 3 days, I might have been like, oh, I'm not doing this stupid camera again,
Yeah.
But knowing that it was someone else involved, there's a little bit more of like, okay, come on, let's do this. So no, there was no one else in the office with me. Well, Allison did a few scenes, but there was no one else in the office, but they helped with gear, that initial setup, and all that kind of stuff. And they are currently like editing it as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad too that, this is like a kind of independently produced documentary with like good intentions, because again, like I'm imagining if this was like for American primetime TV, they'd be like, okay, well you need to have a bit where you're really struggling. Maybe you and Allison have an argument about it. Like that they'd throw that in.
I can't believe you're saying that, because there is that feeling, not from anyone, but there is a feeling like, when have you ever watched the documentary and like it wasn't tragic?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this documentary is like, did you ever see American Movie?
I
You guys
don't
ever see
know.
American Movie where that
Mm,
dude makes that horror movie on his own and his best friend and all that? You never saw these crazy
I-
lo-fi dude?
It's sounding familiar.
man, it does sound
Gotta
familiar.
watch that movie. You gotta watch the movie. Anyway, this is what that reminds me of, is like, I started watching some of the footage. I'm like, this dude's insane, meaning me. I was like, this guy is freaking nuts. Like, there's times where I'm like just like playing the drums on my desk like for a long time, like reading like I'm reading to a metronome. I'm like filming, like I'm playing basketball in my office. There's no women here. Like after a while, you watch this and you're gonna be like, wow, this guy's far out. And that was fun for me. But the thought crossed my mind, where's the doubt here? Where's the troubled here? It's just not, I don't operate that way. I don't have imposter syndrome. Never have. I don't doubt it. I'm like, yeah, if it sucks now, we'll make it better later.
Mm.
And if there was any like problems, like a fight with Allison, I guess, I don't know. I guess that would be I guess I could film that, but that would seem like kind of an odd thing to include or something. But maybe that would be a good thing to include. I don't know. But you get what I'm saying, is that I noticed the lack of that in the raw footage. And it's interesting that you say that, because now I'm wondering, because you're saying that's an American television show thing, I'm wondering if I'm like conditioned to think that a documentary is supposed to be tragic.
Right.
I mean, I see that aspect of it, but I mean, immediately what comes to mind, and this is, I mean, to me, it's funny, and I'm sure that what you did is not funny, but it would almost be like, what's the guy who did the nature documentaries?
David Attenborough?
Yes, and so I say, we see the writer in his habitat, and it's, and then they show you drumming on the desk and all this, and I'm like, okay, that could be a way to go. you know,
I'm
that
like,
could be a way to
I'm like snorting lines, like
go.
the studious writer is it.
Yeah, the studious
He's like
writer
snorting
imbibing his inspirations, sometimes quite literally.
Yeah. But but then here's my take on that. Damn it. Is like, I'm as plagued with not doubt, but like, dude, I worry about shit. Like, I worry about money. I worry if the books are good. I worry about all this shit. And that's what I was saying before. Just because you don't air your grievances doesn't mean you don't have any. And
Right.
it's like, I'm just not really the kind of guy to be like, this all sucks. It's like, I'm more like, okay, I'm writing a book. It's hard. Yes, this is hard. Yes, I'm going to be like, oh God, that passage is so freaking embarrassing. You didn't need this chapter at all. Great. But it's all under the umbrella of, we're writing a novel, which is a very, in and of itself, optimistic endeavor. Because number one, it implies there's meaning in things, like what, to accomplish anything. And number two, it sort of implies somebody else would read it. And so to me, the act of writing at all, in and of itself, is optimistic. Even if there's a struggle.
I was thinking about this the other day, particularly because the current novel I'm writing, it's called Daddy's Boy. It has the most like dick jokes and euphemisms I've ever put in any project. It's kind of like, I don't know, the Greasy Strangler meets a Joe R. Lansdale heist. And I thought, how optimistic is this act? That I like, there was just a moment where I came out of myself almost. It's like, how optimistic is this? I'm spending like a substantial amount of time. Like, I've spent the best part of a year on this, and it's like just, it is an extended dick joke in a sense. So there's got to be a lot of optimism to even do that.
I cannot wait. I want to read. I would like to be one of your first dick joke readers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also a good book title, Dick Joke.
Yeah. I'll have to consider changing the title.
I'm glad I can help.
Or do I like call it Daddy's Boy, and then underneath it's like a dick joke novel, which then implies that, like, there's a load of them. Like, do I start the subgenre? This is similar to how Splatterpunk, Dick
Yes.
Joke Punk.
30 years from now, you'll be like honored for this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's the Splatterpunk Awards. It's the World Ready for the Dick Joke Awards. I feel we're probably in the wrong decade. It's like if that was going to kick off, that was like the 90s or the noughties. This is, if I consider the climate we're in, this is not, this is not the moment.
Yeah, I think we missed the dick joke era, but you never know. You never
Yeah,
know. You
yeah.
could be really onto something.
I mean, things are cyclical. Maybe it will return. We'll find out.
It's like Clerks. I'm gonna bring it back. I'm bringing it back.
Yeah. But I mean, with the cameras as well, did you feel, at least to begin with, a little bit self-conscious, or did you feel, like maybe there are things that you would normally do that you're like, well, shit, there's a camera there, I better not do that, or on the reverse end, did you ever feel like there was a need to perform? Because quite often, like I'm writing a story and I'm silent, but maybe if there's cameras, I might want to turn to it and be like, oh well, this is the bit with the dialogue now. I don't know what.
By the way, I've missed you guys. Wow. Wow. My
Thank
face
you.
hurts right now from smiling, and I don't even know how long we've been talking. My freaking face hurts. So it was liberating. It was liberating, the whole thing, because again, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like I hate people on Twitter. That's of course not. That's not what I mean. I just that is just so not home for me. It's just so
Mm,
unexpressive. It's just so bland to me. It's so transparent to me. I'm just not into it.
mm,
And so I've been like for like a couple of years now, like how do I like who can I talk to about this? I'm gonna talk to Allison. There's 50 hours of footage, you know? When I talk to Allison for hey baby,
yeah.
hear me out. And then 50 hours of talking about writing the novel. So it it was just liberating, man. It was like looking the camera in the eye and like there was like a gleefulness about like I'm finally talking about this and not thinking like is someone gonna think I'm too upbeat? Is someone gonna say that I'm toxically positive? Is somebody gonna say that I'm like, oh my God, like, dude, I'm writing a novel and I'm electric with it and I want to talk about it, you know? And talk about the problems of it too and blah blah blah. And so it was just liberating. But the first couple of days were a little nerve wracking. After that, it was a free fall. Yeah, kind of a free fall.
Yeah.
Maybe a downward spiral, perhaps.
Right, right. No, I can't wait to see it either, and whatever form it takes, whatever channels it comes out on, I will be watching this because you know it sounds amazing, and
I asked them if I could
Mhm.
edit it, and they were like, "No, no, no, no." I'm like, "No, but I have an idea." They're like, "No, no, 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 no. We're gonna get like a real editor." So I was, okay, fine, fine.
yeah, yeah. When you were kind of submitting each day's session, did you ever give them kind of timestamps or be like, oh, 38 minutes in, you're not going to believe what I did, so I want you to pay close
You're
attention
asking
to that?
amazing. You really are asking amazing questions, as if you've done this or something. Like because oftentimes, a segment like closer to the end of it would be the great moment. So if I was filming for 6 minutes, around like 4:45, something exciting starts to happen, and that was became like almost routine with it. So I did talk to them about that. I'm like, most of these clips, like the latter third of them is where like the more interesting stuff happens, or the more interesting like revelation or whatever thing to say, or maybe I had an idea for the book or started doing something really weird in the office, whatever it is. It almost always came later late in the
Mm,
segment. So that yeah,
yeah, yeah. And so it sounds,
I'm not put together enough to have thought in terms of stop timestamps, but
yeah,
I'm like it's late in the clips.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it sounds like you were turning the camera on, you were recording at specific moments rather than literally just having it recording the entire time,
Oh my god.
or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
yeah,
can't even. In terms of the writing itself, I try to just kind of get creative with like camera. Like for a while, I had the camera phone like directly above me, and there's some awesome shots of so I'm writing and the cats are walking around like the computer, like walking around the desk while I'm writing, and there were some moments like that, but very little of this is actually me just sitting there writing. I mean, what is that? What the hell does that mean? It is. There's a funny moment where I started that way. And so I'm like, all right, sentence one. And like right away, like the first word I spelled wrong. And I was like, God damn it. And there are like many, many moments like that where it's like, so I get the feeling that somebody who is trying to write a novel or trying to write their first novel, if they saw this movie, they're going to be like, if that dude can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I hope that's what they walk away with.
I wondered too if, like, you needed to get some hours of you writing just so they can do some sort of time lapse and like do, and then, like you drumming and do a line. What? It's like all sped up.
Pretty soon, there's actually a drum set behind them. Like, there's a typewriter and a drum set between us.
Yeah,
that's a great idea. Now I kind of want to film that.
Yeah,
I do have a drum set in this house.
Yeah. There you go. Is it too late? Can you be like, we've got an emergency scene?
Guys, don't hold the presses. It's like the end of a movie. The music is swelling. I'm racing for the airport with this scene of
That would be a great end credits.
Yeah.
One more scene.
I honestly think I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring the drums in the office. That's a brilliant idea. Okay.
Even if it's an end credits, it could be like, where is he now? Oh, that's what he's doing now.
I pan out and my office is in a mental home.
Yeah.
Wait, let me grab this cup of ice. Hold on.
Okay.
I twisted my ankle. No, I'm just kidding. It's for a drink.
Yeah. But I mean, to briefly return to, social media, I mean, I think a lot of people have a similar relationship with social media. Like, not many writers say, you know what I love about marketing, or you know what I love about writing? It's the tweets. It's putting a tweet out. That is why I got into this. But
that's a good point.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, there's many things going on with social media. For one, I mean, a lot of people have been conditioned to a point where it almost becomes part of your brain. You have a thought, you're like, oh, well, I better put that out in a tweet. No. You can have a thought, you can let it pass, and you didn't open Twitter. That's okay. So that's kind of one side of it. And I'm not being hyperbolic about that. There are literally studies to show that this is affecting your brain chemistry. So it is something that you have to be pretty careful about. But then on the other hand, I mean, it is a marketing tool. It is a device to try and get your work out there. I think a lot of people are battling with the idea as to like, well, how essential is this? Or what is the minimum effective dose? I mean, I got rid of Facebook about 3 years ago, and since doing that, it hasn't been like, wow, there's been a real decline in terms of like people knowing who I am. So it's like you can clearly get rid of a number of platforms and then see no detrimental effect. I mean, the only one that I'm really on is Twitter at the moment. Obviously, we're now putting the podcast out as a video on YouTube, but I see that as a separate. It's a kind of social media, but it's also a platform for publishing your work in a sense.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely see your podcast the same way I would see like a novel, the same way I see a documentary. This is like, not to sound, not to hit someone the wrong way, but this is art. What's happening, guys? We're in the middle of art right now. No, but really, we are like this is art, and like the tweet and like the strategy of the online, even the like engagement stuff. I'm just like, oh my God, no, I can't even do this right now.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't have a cell phone till I was 31 or something.
Right.
So there is sometimes this sort of longing for the before this in me. I understand the potential merits of like this stuff.
Mm.
It's just not me, man. It's just not my language. It's just not. It's like I even feel like me on the telephone, I'm not as effective as like what we're doing right now. I'm
Right.
just more myself, like in an actual like personal moment.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I wonder now, with the success that you've enjoyed with like that, like that there's a level of fame to a point. People, if a Josh Malerman book comes out, they will buy it, even even if nobody really mentioned it. I mean, one person would have to mention it just so that they're aware that it is out. But assuming that one person has done their job, it would sell to a point. So, are you considering just not being on social media? Is that
Man,
something
I
you
don't
would do?
know.
Have you reached a level where you could just be like, "I'm done"?
No, I don't think so. But not only that, like I have fun writing messages,
Mm,
like with friends and stuff. And I mean, God, that's about it, though, man. I mean, I don't. No, I would definitely feel weird if like I had like an account, like even an author account that someone else
mm,
ran. I would feel weird about that, right? Like,
mm,
it's like, hi, I'm Jim. I'll be answering for John. Like, no, 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 no. We're not doing anything like that. But it also does feel a little like not reactionary, but a little like permanent as well to get off of everything.
mm.
Something about that feels a little too severe to me. So what are
Yeah,
the options, right? The options are just, I mean, which is what I do, and not spend that much time on there. And when I do go on there, I'm just like, oh my God, everyone's so mad. Everyone's so mad. But
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I just live in a like, man, I just live in like a different place than the vibe. Whatever that vibe is, I don't live there. That's not the
yeah.
frequency. That's not the radio station I listen to. That's not the frequency I'm at. I don't speak that language.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that we've spoke about this to a point on the podcast before, but I do hate those very firm statements that you often see on Twitter that will be along the lines of, if you do this, or if you think this, or if X, Y, and Z, you're a piece of shit, or that's wrong, or that's not it. There's almost an Orwellian 1984 that this is not the correct way to think. And that is very scary for me, not least because, I just think there's so much nuance. And I think on most sides of a discussion, there are good points and there are bad points. And even if there's going to be one side that I gravitate towards, there's probably something on the other end of the argument that, I'm in agreement with. And it's like, well, you can see how that is you can see why they came to that conclusion or what happened there. And I think, too, as you said before, new facts emerge, new information emerges, new ways of thinking. So it's just really dangerous to say this is bad when it's like, but we
Oh,
don't
like
we
I don't know
yeah.
anything about like the story. Whatever it was, the news comes out like literally like an hour before, and everyone has like such strong things to say. I'm just not that kind of guy. Like that doesn't
Mm,
mean that I'm like a spineless jellyfish with no opinions, but that
yeah.
also doesn't mean that I'm like some super hardened guy with opinions that I'm afraid to write down. No, 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 no. It's not that.
No.
It's like I just like I'm doing my thing. I saw that news. It once was the news would come out, you'd hear something happen, and then maybe it came up a couple times during the day, and then maybe you saw something on TV again about it at night. And so in the course of that, there was a lot of space for you to either think about it or not. Maybe you talk to someone, learn something about it or not, this kind of thing. But how these things are set up now, let's just say like a fight between writers or something strange like that. Not only will you hear about it, but like in kaleidoscope. So now it's like you hear about you hear about it like
Mm,
1,000 times in one day, and it doesn't really even give you the opportunity to sit and think like, what do I think about that?
yeah.
Because it's like
Yeah.
like coming at you, and it's not like, hold on, I don't know either of these writers. I don't know what either of them are like. I don't know anything. You know what I mean? I don't know what the hell's going on in their lives right now. But then maybe a few days later, I do have an idea of it. Like you realize this guy's
Mm,
a prick or something. Okay, fine. That's fine. But it's that sort of the permanence of it. Like I don't know. I'm just coming from a much brighter vibe. Like put it this
mm.
this is the best way I feel like I could explain it. If Twitter was a party, I would have walked in, turned to Allison, and been like, yeah, let's go. Where you want? I would have been like, you want to try the bar up the street?
Yeah,
If that was a
Yeah.
bar, I wouldn't have stayed 5 minutes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think the other thing as well is that there seems to be with some people a pressure to state an opinion on a matter very, very quickly. And like as we've said, number one, I'm gonna need a little bit longer to understand even what's going on. But also often I think, who the fuck am I? Who
Well,
is
let me
thinking
do
I
right.
need to know what Michael David Wilson thinks before I
I
can
have
move on from this?
some of that too, a little bit of that. But okay, how about this idea? And we don't talk about this the whole time, but it feels like we could. But um, if you do not have, and this is where I kind of understand what I'm seeing out there, if you do not have like an artistic outlet or an expression, an outlet, you have this. You guys write, I write, I'm in a band, all this stuff. Imagine then how social media would look to you, because it could look then as this is how I'm going to express myself.
Mm,
But if you're already doing that for hours with a novel, you're already doing that for hours with an album. When you get online, you're not thinking in terms of express myself. You
mm,
already like got that out of you. We even just said the 3-4 hour creative like limit or whatever the hell we're talking about, right?
mm,
So you get online. Now imagine though that you don't have an outlet. You're mad about something. Like if I'm mad about something and I'm writing a song, I guess more music, I don't know, I guess it would come out maybe in there. It doesn't matter. You get what I'm saying? Now imagine someone that doesn't have an outlet and they sit down. Then I understand. I understand, or I can empathize with wanting to express yourself and having an outlet. But to someone who has one before sitting down to the computer, it all feels very what's the right word? Not unnecessary, but very sort of transparent. Like
mm.
I've been like, oh, I can see what's going on. You felt like you had to say this. You felt you had to say this. And I'm like, to me, it's like I already got it out. Whether it's in what we're doing right now, writing a novel, writing an album, talking to friends who are like philosophical minded or just whatever, like minded friends. So those opinions, those initial reactions are already out in certain ways. And then I sit down and all I want to do is make dick jokes.
Yeah, yeah,
When you talk
yeah.
about reactions, I mean that's what's happening is our attention spans have gotten so short that we're like in a soundbite era, and that goes both ways. It's we process information very quickly. We don't get the entire story. We don't have time to actually process it and think about it and find out what our opinion is on it, if we have an opinion at all. And what social media does is it forces you to have an opinion about something that is a reaction to something. And you are going to react in the same way that you received. You received a soundbite, you give out a soundbite. And other people now, and so it causes this cascading effect of everyone's reacting to what you just said. At the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. I
Right.
mean, and usually the arguments that you see online about stupid shit is quite simply because somebody needs to be, look them square in the eye, face to face, and go, "You're stupid. You really are." You
Well,
know,
or Bob, or
because a lot of those comments that people make, they they get an opinion and people worshiping them, and it's like, man, wait, this guy's stupid. And that makes me get off social media. That makes me go, okay, I'm done.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
done.
yeah.
I'm gonna go for a ride. I'm gonna go read. I don't want to see this bullshit anymore. You know?
No, it is strange. It seems like certain people are delegated. Like this guy is the truth in this lane, or something like that, or
Yeah.
this lady is the truth in this field, or something. And it's like, no, yeah, I know. It's very, it's again. and I'm not trying to change the subject, it's what led me to the documentary, is that I was like, I
Right.
need a different way or a different place to
An
talk about
outlet.
things. Yeah, because when I would write stuff, Facebook's a little more fun because for me, because it's like mostly family and friends. But Twitter is especially like cold, like outer solar system to me. But it's like I don't know how to explain it because like I get it, I empathize, I understand wanting to express yourself, wanting to say something, but it seems to me, it feels like there's that word again, strategic.
Mm.
People that do well on there, it feels very, very strategic. That like you're like really every day you're like, like every day you wake up with an engaging question for everybody in your life. Okay, buddy, you know what I mean? No, you don't. You wake up
Yeah.
and you're like, I need to engage, because for this silliness. And then that
Yeah.
site's gonna die one day, and then it's like, what was all this? But what's not gonna die one day, well, the whole planet might, but is the novel you write, the documentary you make, the podcast you guys are doing now. Like these to me, they're talk about like there's a permanence to me in Ghoul in the Cave that is
Mm.
I could not find in social media in a gazillion years. Even
Yeah.
even if I wrote 300,000 words worth 300 hello 300,000 words worth on social media. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
If any
Yeah.
listeners are into all that, whatever, I love you. Let's like come hang out. You're never gonna get to know me on there, and not that you would want to necessarily.
Yeah.
But if you do want to, let's hang out because it's whatever that is online. That's like the truncated, muted me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, listeners of the podcast know that me and Bob, semi regularly disagree with each other, and we're not afraid to call each other out on different things or to express our differences in opinion. And I mean, I guess like the way that like Bob sometimes views things is a little bit different to me, as it should be. And so like I never really think like, oh, this person is stupid, this person is an idiot. I'm trying to think, well, why have they came to this conclusion, or like what's going on here? So I don't want to write anyone off
Yeah,
as an
same
idiot.
here.
I think we're all like a kind of product of all our experiences and our circumstances, and I genuinely think that like the vast majority of people, what they're doing it because they think it's right. They've came to these conclusions because they think they're right. They're not an idiot. Perhaps they're misguided sometimes, but I I don't want to view, my fellow humans, as it were, as idiots. There's just differences in opinion, different conclusions. So yeah, I'm trying to be as positive as I can.
Your positivity is toxic.
No,
Yeah.
this one,
I couldn't wait to say that.
this one,
Yeah.
I will not stand. But the first time I saw that phrase, I was like, somebody's coming after me.
He's got this toxic
They're after me.
positivity that's
But
just
yeah,
killing me.
like this guy doesn't have imposter syndrome. Like pull out the torches.
Yeah.
This guy actually like thinks like that we're all capable of writing a classic novel. Literally both of you, me, undoubtedly us. Almost every single person I've met in the scene is capable of writing a classic. And like,
Mm.
if that's toxic, then sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I just prefer, it's better for my mental health, it's better for my being, it's better for my soul to think, what if it happens to me, rather than it will never happen to me. Because even if I think, what if, or I know you before, Josh, like you took it even stronger. You said, well, why not me? And it's like, yeah, it has to be someone. Why not me? And even if you go through life and then it never and then it didn't actually happen, but the fact that you believed that it could probably means that you had a better life.
Amen. Amen to all of that. I
Mhm.
think like there, and also here's a big one is the idea of and I think that people think this of other authors as well, that like the last book or like however good you think he or she is, that's as good as they are ever going to be. But like
Mm,
people have breakthroughs, people get better. People have like suddenly like a brilliant movie, just in the same way that the opposite might happen, where a favorite director or writer of yours writes like a total lemon novel or makes a bad movie, whatever it is. So I don't have a permanent opinion even on like my fellow writers, because if like
Mm,
there's a guy who's like rolling right now, well, he might not forever, okay. But if there's someone who like I read a book and it was like it's all right, that next one could be literally be a classic, and I believe that.
mm,
And so if you turn that same idea towards yourself,
mm,
every time you sit down to write, there is the potential to do something like The Shining. There's the potential to do something like the Loney. What's his name? I just read it. Philip Roth, Portnoy's Complaint, Beloved. Like there is you anyone listening, you too, me, we have a potential like classic in us, or
mm.
numerous ones, whether or not it comes out or whether or not it comes out exactly how I would want, whatever. To me, that's not just what's the right phrase? That's not just to satiate some self-doubt or something. Like I believe that. I believe that you guys sitting down the book that you said that you're working on right now, as funny as silly as we're being about it, for all I know, it's like absolutely brilliant. And I have that open mind with each like every other author in like the horror scene. You know, if there's like Todd Kiesling recently made that. Did you see that collage like picture of like 300 like horror faces and stuff? Did you guys see that? It's awesome. It's amazing.
I
I seen
haven't.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're on there, Michael.
Are we?
Yeah,
yeah. You both
Oh,
are okay.
yeah,
Good.
we're both on there.
Yeah,
We're
I
like
got you.
front and center. Our faces are real big. They're bigger than everybody's.
you know, I.
No, no.
But
No,
that
But
really,
we're on there. Yeah, we are on there.
I really, when I saw that he made that, I was like, I'm so glad that somebody did this about this moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what I'm saying. Like everybody in that frame. I know Lovecraft is no longer with us and Poe is no longer, but
He's
everyone
not.
in that frame has like the potential of doing something brilliant.
Mm-hmm. I think Michael's looking at it right now.
look, you know, when you mentioned it, I thought I'm interested in seeing this. When you said we're on it, obviously there's a lot of egos. Like, wait, I'm part of it, and I'm fucking
Did
looking
you
at it
find it?
right now.
Did you find it?
I was trying to find it, and I thought I
Yeah,
was doing it subtly
but
until Bob called me out. So temporarily, oh, like I can see it. I can see it.
yeah,
I guess
Hey,
I guess all this to say, just for me, and I'm actually kind of like glad that we are talking about this, because it was like an opportunity for me to like kind of like get some of this off my chest, I guess. But for me, I would just prefer to express myself through novels, through albums. But if it comes to like, but these are so far, fictional, right? That that's a weird idea. A nonfiction album is a really weird idea. But like that sounds. I was born July 24th. My mom's name is Debbie. My dad's name is Steve. Anyway, so even with the like nonfiction, like the express yourself, like what the equivalent of what social media might be, even that I feel like has to have some degree of like artistic groove to it. It's just the only place I'm at home. And so the documentary was much needed.
to go back to something you were talking about, how like how each one of us has the ability to do something that would be considered like a classic novel or something like that.
Yeah.
And if you look at any type of artist's career, you will see highs and lows and peaks and valleys and things like that. I mean, and it's like I'm a metalhead, so it's like I'll use Judas Priest for example, because they tend to front load their albums. They have gone through highs and lows. They have changed styles, sometimes to the point of being completely drastically changing styles. Yet when they go to the studio and they write a song, they're not, or they're recording an album. They're not going, like on Screaming for Vengeance. They're like, okay, the hits are going to be, you got another thing coming. And then, Hellion, Electric Eye, and then Devil's Child, they'll like that. So it was like, because if they thought that would be, hey, there's the 4 tracks. We're done. We did an EP. Great. Bam. They put their heart and soul into every single song that they wrote and every single song that they played. not knowing how it was going to be,
Yeah.
reacted to, or what type of reaction they were going to get in the, in the court of public opinion and all that. But they put their heart and soul in there, just like writers put their heart and soul in every single project that they write, every
Yes.
single story that they write, every single character that we write. So the concept that hey, this person, they wrote this book, but the last couple of books weren't that good. To that writer, those books may have been a breakthrough for them. It may have been a turning point for them. It may have been something that they're extremely, extremely proud of because they pulled it off against all odds.
Right. And
And
we don't know exactly where that's leading yet either.
exactly, we don't know. And then, and of course, later on, we have, these, hey, and actually, that was actually quite an underrated novel that he wrote or she wrote, and it's actually now it's a critical darling, you know, and it's like, why did these people even have this opinion? It's so early on. It goes back to the little reaction thing, you know.
I think you guys would probably agree. I do think most, well, actually, I don't know that if this is true, but maybe the more like well-known reviewers or something do seem to be like if an author they like writes a book they don't like, they're sure to like frame it in that light. Like, I love books by him or her, but this book didn't do it for me. I can't wait for the next one. You know what I mean? I do think the sort of like more well-known reviewers or something. I don't know if everyone on Goodreads is like that. I probably not. I haven't been there in 7 years, but like seriously, I haven't been on Goodreads in like 7 years or something. That's crazy, man. I went on there one day and I was like, nope. I opened the door. I was like, nope. That's what I mean. Like that was another bar on that block, you know. Like Alice and I walked in that bar. I was like, nope. Let's go
Yeah.
up the road, man. You know, yeah. But I do think, Bob, I think you probably agree, is that like you and me, like I almost feel like when our heroes write like make a movie that's maybe like weirder than what we want, or write a book that kind of like isn't so great. There's almost something awesome about that too. There's
Mm-hmm.
something cool about the fact that Stephen King has written some bad books. It's cool. I know it sounds funny to say that, but it's true. It's cool that like I don't love every single Kubrick movie, that I don't love every single Hitchcock movie. There's something like some people would likely say that makes them more human, and I guess that's probably the right answer. But there's some like, for me, it is more what you were just saying, more like that journey. Like maybe Barry Lyndon was a breakthrough for Kubrick. What comes after Barry Lyndon? The Shining, right? I think so, right? So you went from Clockwork Orange, where people are like, whoa, to Barry Lyndon, where I bet you a lot of people were like, oh, this guy's done. This guy's boring now. He's using everything's by candlelight now, right? And then his next movie is The Shining. So, and that's exactly what you're talking about. That like the peaks. Barry Lyndon is awesome. I actually, and I know everyone thinks that doesn't matter. You get what I'm saying? There is like that mountain range to like the artist's career, and I've always thought that the moment you've like had a real breakthrough as an artist, as a writer, as a musician, is when reviewers start comparing your work to your previous work rather than to someone else. So as opposed to like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to explain it, but it's fun to do it. Your first book comes out, it's like, oh, this is like Stephen King or Dean Koontz or something. But then your second book, they're like, well, in Bird Box he did this, and Black Man Wheel he's doing this, and then by Daphne, there's a bunch of books to reference, and you're like, okay, this is good because now we're talking about like that artistic mountain range. We're talking about the canon, the oeuvre, the body of work, rather than comparing it to like something else and just like dismissing someone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that, I mean, of course, like there are a lot of people who will have these questions about, like, I don't know, the artistic value of their own work, or like, is what I'm doing, is this the best story that I could be working on right now? But I mean, if I ever get things like that, which like occasionally during Daddy's Boy I have, it's like, is this really what I want to be spending my time on? And it's like, well, if some people think it does suck, if they think it like this was a waste of their time reading it, then it's like, well, no matter, because the next one hopefully won't be. And it's like, I've made the decision to work on this one now. So if I come up with something that I think, okay, no, this is what I should be spending my time on, it's like, well, park that idea, write it down briefly. Now you can work on it next. But you made the decision to write this story now, so bloody well see it through. And
Yeah.
that's that's what I do. And also, at any time I get doubts about that kind of thing, if I think, oh, this is a little bit too Napoleon Dynamite and less The Great Gatsby, it's like, yeah, but I bloody love Napoleon Dynamite and Spinal Tap and The Greasy Strangler and even Freddy Got Fingered. So there is value in all of these things
Oh
existing.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, I mean,
Man,
if I,
I
yeah,
had a meeting today with Sky Elobar from
yeah,
the Greasy Strangler because, as I think you know, he starred in the short version of a Ben Evans film,
yeah.
and I think I can just say this now. Today we got the funding for it
Oh,
for that being a feature now
yeah,
today. And so you brought up the Greasy Strangler twice. The first time you brought it up, I was like, I almost said something then, but now I'm like, just talk about it.
yeah,
Yeah, Ryan and I had a meeting with the financial guy today, and then a meeting with James Hall, the director, and Sky following. James and his uncle Brett are directing, and yeah, that is going to be a feature now, a Ben Evans film. For anyone listening, a Ben Evans film is a short story of mine in which a fella is determined to make a feature movie no matter what, and he initially thinks of casting his parents as the lead roles. Both his parents die, and he decides to use them as the lead characters anyway. So imagine him dressing up his parents as the different characters and doing the voices for each of them throughout. And just imagine a total madman in his home making a movie starring his dead parents. It's called a Ben Evans film. And it was a short was made of it that I loved, but a feature, as of today, a feature is going to be start filming in September.
yeah, yeah. So I'm not sure how much you're able to talk about it, but I mean, are you writing the script for that? Is there a different screenwriter?
Yeah, no, James already wrote it, and I love it. It's freaking great. I can just
Yeah.
tell you a little bit more, I guess, because this wasn't in the short story or the short. Is that it involves Ben's trying to get that movie like into a festival.
Mm.
So that opens a lot of doors in terms of characters and other stuff.
Wow.
I really, really hope we get to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sky's incredible,
I
man.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like he kind of reminds me of like there's something like just naturally Tim Burton-y, like a character, Charlie Chaplin-y, like Pee Wee Herman-y, like he's like a
Mm.
character in and of himself, and him as Ben Evans is like, oh, it's just so perfect, man. He's so perfect. I cannot wait
Yeah.
for this. Yeah,
Yeah. How did you first get connected with Sky?
I think James did it. I think James
Mm.
and I saw The Greasy Strangler with Allison late night, and we were like, this is the greatest movie ever. And then I think when James he asked if he can make a Ben Evans film, and then I think he said, "Hey, I'm going to reach out to that guy, the
Mm.
son in the movie," and I think James did that. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
well, congratulations on getting the funding, and oh,
Uh-huh.
it,
and we're filming it
I,
here. We're doing it here in Michigan.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
like so excited right now. Like, yeah, it's like I don't know. I like friends might be working on the movie, and James is one of
yeah,
my good friends. James is in the troupe that does all the theatrical readings. You guys know we do that. I've told you
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
James is in that troupe.
Well, crossing everything, Marty Feldman.
Marty Feldman. Straight Black Dawn, the book is dedicated to Marty Feldman and Ryan Lewis.
I noticed. I did notice that. Yeah, yeah.